What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL. Joined as always by my co host, Jonathan Holder. Jonathan, what's going on, brother?
Man, I'm just trying to get through this spooky season, and the defense isn't helping because it scares me every time I see him get on the field. So,
Every time, every time. Like right off the rip, King is bringing it. Like he said, he showed up early for this one.
yeah,
Talking about I'm glad we won. Obviously, we won down in Tampa. We swept the Bucks, which is great. Which we're gonna get into all that. He says, but it seems like the Falcons from Matt Ryan's time, all offense, no defense. We're going into week 9 and we haven't found our defense. That's sad. I mean, at this point, I, it is what it is. Like, uh,
I, I think we have found the defenses from a secondary point of view,
mhm.
uh, and the linebackers had kind of a rough game this game, but overall, like for most of the season, I think the linebackers have been generally pretty good. The defensive line, look, if you, I will say this: if you're not going to be a high volume sack defensive line, your ass better be good at stopping the run. If you can do
And
that, then I can live with the lower sack totals. But no sacks, and you get gashed whenever a team decides like we're going to run the ball, and there's not a lot we're going to do to stop it. That's where I have a problem.
right, yeah. At this junction, I think the defense is what it is. You're probably going to get an uptick a little bit when you get Troy Anderson back.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it's this week against Dallas. But yeah, I think the defense is what it is. They made some moves. They haven't really necessarily produced just yet. The Judon trade is not looking nearly as awesome as we thought it was going to. We
Mm-hmm.
are going into week 9, and him and Grady Jarrett are leading the sack totals with a sack and a half each,
Yep.
which is horrible. So, yeah, they're going to have to definitely figure something out, but not to spend too much time on that just yet. Uh, we won. We won the game.
Yes, we did.
And for the most part, like other than Tampa Bay's second touchdown, it was never really like I never really felt all that like in danger. I guess like that last drive, sure. Like when Koo missed the field goal,
Yeah.
at the end, I was like, dang, that might come back to to bite us a little bit. But the defense was able to, step up
Mm-hmm.
and keep them from marching down the field and scoring a touchdown with a minute left and no timeouts. Um, but all in all, what was your like 30,000 foot view of the game?
Um, Offense looked good for the most part. The defense, again, what we've kind of the story of the season to this point has been, start out the game, seemingly can't stop anybody, looking like letting them carve us up like a hot knife through butter kind of situation. But then something happens at the half, and outside of the Seattle game, and the Seattle game really like once they got up by like 10 and it started getting late, we started our offense started pressing, and that's when we started giving up we gave up the interceptions there. But really, like the outside of that game, for the most part, the defense when the second half starts, whatever the offense was doing before, they seem to figure out something, and they generally don't give up as many anything really in the second half of most of our games. Like we're not giving up as many rushing yards, we're not giving up as many passing yards, we're not giving up as many points. So like the defense, while I would love to see some magic switch get flipped and we get a pass rush going, but at the end of the day, the defense is doing enough for us to do what we need to do and come out of these games with wins. Now, is that always going to be the case? No, obviously we saw with Seattle, it was too much.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we came out of this with a win. I would much rather, and we've talked about this for the last few, how many years have we been talking about this? We talked about, like, we looked at last year, the year before that, where we come out of these losses and we look good, but we ended up losing, or we gave up last minute whatever, and we ended up losing the game, and it's like, yeah, we got these problems, but we have these problems, and we also lost the game. Now this year, more times than not, we come out of these games, we're like, man, I'm really, this really worries me, and we really need to work on this, and yada yada yada. But we're winning, and I would
Right.
much rather be on that side of that equation than the other side of it that we have been in for the last 6 years or better. So
Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather, obviously, would rather talk about these problems with a win than a loss. Um, you know, I know the defense has it in them because you won the first Saints matchup without scoring an offensive touchdown.
yep,
Like that defense won you that game.
yep,
Um, and I think a lot of it has to do with they just haven't been able to really uh replace what Troy was giving them and what Troy's and his athleticism was allowing them to do with their
hmm
linebacking core. Because if you go back and look at um the defense out there in LA, like that's a big calling card not just for Jimmy Lake but for Raheem Morris as well.
hmm
That 5-man front, dropping dropping edges, rushing linebackers, and Nate Landman. As much as we love Nate Landman, he hasn't looked 100% the same since he's come back from his injury, and that's kind of to be expected. It takes some of these guys a little while to fully bounce back. He's probably playing at 75, 80%. And for a guy who wasn't supremely athletic to begin with, um, he was more that old school bold of, close to the line of scrimmage, stick my nose in there and drive on you. Like he doesn't have the legs to drive on you per se right now.
yeah,
And you've seen that a time or two. So I'm really hoping that either they start trusting JT Bertrand more, or we get we get Troy Anderson back. I really would love to get Troy Anderson back. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
so
I'd really like to see Anderson get back, and Landman maybe just that bye week can't come soon enough for him. I think
yeah, I
specifically.
mean, we still got what our bye week is week 12.
Yeah, we still got 3 more
So
games to go.
yeah,
I
we
think.
got 3 more games to go before we get there. But I really hope, and I know people, and I've been one of them. Like, okay, Troy missed 4 games already. We could have put him on IR. I know that there's like they can't foresee that. Obviously, they thought he was going to be back,
hmm
sooner rather than later. And you only get so many IR slots being able to bring folks back. So just in case anybody was wondering, because I know I wondered myself, I don't think I realized that there was only so many that you could bring back in a season, which I think is like 8 total. Um, I thought I thought they had done away with that myself. So,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, okay, go ahead and do what you got to do.
give me 1 second.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and while Jonathan has stepped away, we're gonna go ahead and get into ballers and fallers. Let's see. Willie Doc has started us off, and I'm gonna have Jonathan normally does the noise maker. So let's see if I can find that. Aha! Jonathan saved me before he stepped away. All
All
right.
right, I'm back.
No, good. Okay. Willie says, he goes, since I didn't see the game live, I'll defer for you for ballers and fallers. Will say that JB3 is that dude. Offense should run through Bijan. Not ready to give up on Lake. Let's keep gelling. Not ready to give up on Lake, but when it comes to Lake, we'll get to let's just go ahead and get to this part of it. I'm gonna go ahead and hide his comment. All right, here we go. So the baller that I had set up for this week, and Willie Doc kind of hit on it as well. But I went with 2 of them. I went with Kyle Pitts and I went with JB3. Kyle Pitts, just because, like, I know that there was still some, like, because King said it over here, ticks him off that we have to stop this being lazy 1 yard off the touchdown, talking about like almost getting the ball swiped from him.
Yeah.
But I went back and watched like his receptions and stuff, and just I basically went back and watched like right before the show every pass, just because I've really wanted to look at the like the scheme or whatnot, and I'm really enjoying actually like the maturation of Kyle Pitts in this offense. He is definitely giving you some. They're using him better as far as like the chip blocks.
Mm-hmm.
He's really engaging, hitting folks, and then going out into his route. More like that, Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce. They're not asking him to hold a block. It's just that more slow that guy down just enough, especially when he's on Caleb McGarry's side. Slow that guy down to where Caleb's got time to really get himself set to
Mm-hmm.
take on whatever rush is coming. And like Caleb looked really good, and I think a lot of it had to do with how Kyle Pitts was played. And then they varying how they're using him as far as close to the line or out in the slot. And it's starting to get rewarded. It's starting to pay off. I think this is his first multi-cut touchdown game, if I'm not mistaken, of his
It
career, I
might be.
think. I could be wrong on that, but I think that this was the first one, and both of them were like they're catching him in stride and letting
Yes.
him run. And the first one, like he fought through, that hold. That dude like almost took his shoulder pad off, and he was
It reminded me of the 300 yard game from Julio. There was the big touchdown. It was like it wasn't the big 75 one at the end of the game, but it was a big touchdown kind of towards the middle of the game where he went. Oh, it was against the Packers. No, I'm sorry. It
yes, it
was
was
the
against the
Packers
Packers
game.
where they
Yeah.
he come up and he was all like his shoulder pads were all twisted, but that's
Yeah.
what you're wanting to see from a Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. The
Like this
physicality.
game, right? Like this game, if we can have, and it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, multi touchdown games, but if we're getting Kyle Pitts like running through holds and able to split a triangle of defenders, like that's starting to see some of that special that made him the number 4 overall pick. That, as Dre Murphy says, Kyle freaking Pitts, the unicorn, is a beast, a dog, a monster. he's a he's an MFing problem. Pay the man. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see if he can continue to be an MFing
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, the consistency now is what I want to see. Like
Right.
he hasn't been piling up the touchdowns in the last few games, but like over the past like what four games or so, he's been with regards to like yardage and receptions, he's up there amongst the tops in the league. So
Right.
it's been ramping up to something like this, and to see him kind of explode on Sunday was nice to see.
I mean, because you saw
So
like what from the Carolina game. Let's see if I can get. Okay, so from the first Tampa Bay game,
okay,
you had 88 yards, 70 yards, 65 yards, 91 yards.
hmm
Like so, and that's the production. That's the consistency. And then you get to be rewarded in a sense of getting these plays in like drawn up for you that lead you to doing the things that you're really good at, which then turns into a multiple touchdown game. Now, I bet you money next time he won't have that ball low and away as he's crossing the goal line.
No.
Uh, I got you, Keith Simmons. I see that. I got your question. We're gonna get to that. So I appreciate you typing that back up. But we're gonna get there. Don't think I am overlooking it. All right. So also on the other baller, obviously, like the best, and I'm gonna put it this way and see if anybody catches it. The best defensive free agent signing the Falcons have ever had. Stop.
Yes.
Full stop.
If we're talking strictly free agent signings,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was wondering, like, because, like, if anybody, went, what about John Abraham? We traded for John Abraham. Like, that
Yes.
was, we didn't sign him in free agency. But Jessie Bates has been worth every penny. Like I said, started really realizing it, not just about Bates, but just about this defense in general, about 2 or 3 games ago, that the only thing this defense can really hang its hat on is the turnovers. And Jessie Bates is a big reason for those turnovers. Now,
Yes.
you got a forced fumble from Bates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like summoning his inner Peanut Tillman, and he is out there punching the pocket.
And he's
Like,
throwing right hooks all over the place.
dude, like he may have a he might be able to moonlight as a welterweight or whatever. I don't know boxing classification, so I may have said that wrong. But still, lightweight. And but not just that, like his ball hawking ability is amazing. It's awesome. I don't think to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever had a safety like this.
No, I mean the next closest safety I would say, and he was much more of a strong safety, not like middle of the field type guy. Was Scott Case from way back in the day.
Right.
That dude was more like thump. It was a different era, right?
Yeah, right,
So,
right. Yeah, he's gonna
but
take your head off, kind of.
oh yeah. He was essentially he was the Brian Dawkins of the Atlanta Falcons. Like he
Right.
was that guy that was going to come and like take your head off, and that's his whole job. That was his whole purpose in life was to be on a football field
To beat people.
and decapitating people.
That's right. But but having Bates back there, he keeps you in games. I
Yeah,
mean that his his ability to erase plays is what has won you games last year, won you games this year. Major impact, even like on this game, like 2 turnovers on his own, and then I could have thrown AJ Terrell in there back to back games with interceptions. We haven't had 2 interceptions from AJ Terrell since his All Pro season in 2021, I think.
that was a crazy interception. That was an awesome interception, is what
Right,
it was.
and so those 2 guys definitely deserved to be shouted out, in my opinion. Obviously, I could have went with Kirk Cousins playing well, or could have went with Darnell Mooney, but I really think that Kyle Pitts kind of having a breakout game like this. Hopefully, this is signs of things to come. Having people even more concerned about our passing options, which should then make it even easier for Bijan. Like, to Willie Doc's point, this was the first game where I really saw them use Bijan in a way that we had talked about over the summer, using him like the Rams used Todd Gurley. Go out, look for work. If there's no work, get out into the flats. I mean, that touchdown that he had where he just laid the defender, like he was the last part of that progression.
Yep.
And he's over basically standing by himself.
He's the safety valve.
Right. And so, but having Pitts come on and having Mooney come on and having Drake be consistent like he's been, it allows a dangerous weapon like Bijan to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because they're so focused on everything else.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Like that was if I was going to if I was putting together the ballers polish, I think Bates was definitely that dude on Sunday. I would have given it to Pitts just because there's been so much talk. There's been so much, of all the negativity that has surrounded him.
Right.
And to see him have that kind of game, not just this game, but it's kind of the build up to this game, right?
Right.
And seeing that happen, and yes, he almost made and maybe actually did make a completely colossally boneheaded mistake, but they just couldn't see it in the cameras. We'll never know for
Yeah,
sure.
because Nick asked, he said, Nick says, is that second pitch Pitt's touchdown a fumble or no? No. Heck no. Come on.
No,
Come on. Come on.
it's called a touchdown, so no,
That's right.
it was not a
That's right.
fumble.
False play stands is called.
Yeah, so the reason, and it's weird too, because you would think they would just have them sitting there, but apparently they only have the when you're not a primetime game, they only have them on the sticks. And so if you're scoring, if you're like first and goal or whatever in that scenario, then you get them on the goal line. But if you're not in a primetime game and you're scoring like he did, which is from 40, 50 yards out, then they're not there. So
It's so like the NFL doing that is so weird to me. It's like I didn't even know that was the thing until this.
yeah,
Like I just assumed all the pylons had pylon games. Like
yep,
the NFL doesn't lack for money. Like why are we
nope,
not putting pylon? I bet you if something like this were to happen again, maybe to like a Chiefs or something like that, they'd have a daggone pylon cam on all of them.
yeah.
CJH229, he appreciates your reference. He says, "Wow, Scott Case reference. You're a real Falcon fan for remembering Case."
Yeah.
Oh, so
That's that early '90s,
that's right.
late '80s, early '90s Falcons fandom in that scenario.
There it is. All right, so let's move on to the bad. There's obviously a bad, right? We kind of touched
Yeah,
on it a little earlier, but I put our linebacking core. Now, Caden Ellis is just going to represent our linebacking core.
yeah,
But something me and you talked about before. Now, obviously, as CJ or CH says, I'm just concerned about not getting a pass rush. I'm afraid it'll catch up with us in the playoffs. Obviously, second week in a row, we could have been sitting here talking about pass rush again because didn't register any hits, didn't register any sacks.
what else?
But
Before we move on to talk about the linebackers,
yeah,
I'm going to say this. When it comes to the pass rush, whether we go out and get somebody is really irrelevant to whether or not we get a pass rush.
yeah,
Brian Jordan. That's a good poll.
that is a good pull.
But no, two-way player too. Anyway, if we go out and get Trey Hendrickson or Ojolari or Zadarius Smith, or maybe let's say we went really crazy and we broke the bank and went and got Myles Garrett. Honestly, I'm not even sure that Myles Garrett would really boost us all that much, simply because right now, at least, it doesn't feel like the scheme is very is allowing for that stuff to happen. Like, okay, if you have nothing but studs, and I mean studs up front, that you can just be like, we're just gonna, man up. You just got to beat the guy across from you every single time, and you can do it successfully every single time. Awesome. But that's not what we have. That's not what most NFL teams have. They can occasionally get the breakthroughs or whatever, but generally, when you're getting the pressure on the quarterback, you're scheming up pressure. You're doing twists, you're doing stunts, you're doing games, you're doing all these different things to manufacture that pressure to help your guys be in the best position possible to get that pressure. And right now, we're like the fact that we're not even getting hits. Okay,
Right.
the fact that we're not even getting hits means that there's something either the guys are not doing properly, or the scheme that they're doing, they're running the scheme properly, and the scheme just sucks. And if the scheme just flat sucks, bringing in a Hendrickson or a Ojolari or any of the other guys is not going to do us a hill of beans.
Right.
It's really not.
And
So
honestly, like I'll be shocked if they make any kind of move next week or
yeah,
before next week, to be honest with you, because honestly, you just beat your probably biggest obstacle in the South, and that was Tampa Bay. Now, albeit they were beat up as far as missing guys, but as far as missing like Evans and Godwin, but you don't have to see them again. So, uh, right now, obviously, the Panthers don't really pose much of a threat, and yes, you still have to go play the Saints, but um, are we really all that worried about the Saints? Like, honestly, I know, like, yes, Derek Carr is going to come back probably before we have to play them again. But even then, uh, their defense is just old and slow at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they can't, they can't beat us. I'm not saying that. Obviously, rival games and in their building, things can always get weird, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But realistically, where the Falcons sit, they have to feel pretty good about where they're at. And so I don't think I can easily see themselves convincing themselves that they can fix it versus going out and getting somebody to fix it. I can see them talking themselves into like, okay, well, when Troy comes back and if we can get Lorenzo off of IR or like Damone Harris is actually looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Like maybe they continue to give him some more run. Maybe, just maybe they finally put Brandon Dorless in and like he gets some run. But I am kind of with like, King here, like, the scheme sucks. I don't know if I necessarily like there's aspects of it that are failing. And I don't know if it's uh if it's necessarily Lake. This is where it starts to get a little like dicey because is Lake still trying to adjust to what Raheem wants him to do?
Mm-hmm.
And because if you go back and watch Lake's offense in Washington or defense in Washington, the couple years that he was the DC and then the head coach, it wasn't exactly the same. As far as what we what we're trying to do here. So is Lake still adjusting to a scheme he's not like super familiar with?
Yeah.
Or like I don't know. There's definitely still some schematic hiccups that are going on that are not helping. Maybe like, Fred's like, oh, we need to play an attacking 3-4. Maybe it's maybe it is the whole like the philosophy is don't give up the big play. We're consistently playing with light boxes, trying not to give up the big play. And this is where when I say the linebackers are, hurting us, so to speak, we're not able to really deter people from running or from passing over the middle. You
Yeah.
went into this game full on knowing, this is what me and you were talking about before we got on the show or before we went live, like fully knowing that you didn't have to worry about Mike Evans or Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
So that left K. Dotton, Trey Palmer, and then the running backs. And like you really couldn't stop them. And that was
Well, we
like
couldn't stop them in the first half.
right.
Yeah, in the second half, we didn't give just like I said, they bowed up a little bit in the second half. Some of that was we were able to get some turnovers in the second half, and did that help? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, of course.
But at the end of the day, we were able to make some stops, and like just like we did, we gave up a total of another 9 points or something like that in the second half. So like it wasn't like they blew us out in the second half and we just barely scraped by because of that. It's just like I said, I don't know. It's a weird scenario where the defense does just enough because we have a really good offense.
Right. And so okay, we're gonna get up to now we're gonna get over to Keith Simmons earlier tipped us $1.99, which we appreciate.
Appreciate it, Keith.
And his question that went with that was Hey, my dudes, if the Falcons let Judon walk this offseason, they should receive a compensatory pick, a third rounder. If so, it looks like a genius move by Fontenot. Yes, if they don't go out and sign somebody and Judon gets, a decent contract, I think all that works in. Like if Judon gets picked up by somebody else and we don't go out and make a move that offsets that, that could, and here's the part that's really crazy about that. Like, say we let Judon walk, and then in the offseason, we sign Azeez Ojulari. That would offset Judon walking,
Yep.
and we would not get a compensatory.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it could be somebody even lower in scale than Judon, or even lower in scale than Azeez, that could then still offset it to where we don't get a compensatory.
Yeah.
So we'll see how like how that goes. But yes, there is a good chance that we could let Judon walk and technically speaking, get our third rounder back. It would be lower on because the compensatory comes after the 32nd pick of the third round is when they start. So it would be lower in order, but yes, it would still be a third round
Right.
pick.
Right.
Um,
And those picks, I don't think you can. I don't think we can. I don't think you're
you
allowed
can
to
trade
trade
those.
those.
You
You
can.
can
You
trade
can
those.
now.
Okay.
Yes, you can now.
Okay.
Um, so all right. So, but kind of like what we were talking about, and some things I want to like focus on a little bit as far as this, the biggest thorn, the biggest whatever is the the defense. Like this is the part that's like still kind of concerning to me. Can everybody see that pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. Like they got us on yards, both passing and rushing.
No, we got them on
Oh,
rushing.
we got them on rushing. That's right. We were able to. Actually, I was kind of worried about that, right?
Yeah.
But we actually did pretty good about stopping them on the run. Um, first downs, they got us on first downs. Third down, we were technically more efficient. No, no,
No, they
no,
were.
they were. They were more efficient on third down. We were more efficient on fourth downs. They ran 12 more plays on offense
Which is not.
than,
That's
which
not.
isn't
That's not
horrible.
horrible or terrible or anything like that. But
Like we punted 3 times to their one. Now,
mhm.
this I want to do point out, for all of our box score watchers, that's got to be about the lowest penalty total we've had all season.
Very close to it, if not the lowest.
And it's definitely like the lowest number of penalties.
Yeah.
But, they got us in time of possession.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, as we were talking about earlier, is opportunistic defense as far as getting turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if we can keep that going, which you saw what happens when it's the other way. When we lose this side of it, that's the Seattle game.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of like you could see it like Seattle came in here, we beat ourselves against Seattle. And you saw that with Buffalo going into Seattle and making them look silly and had them fighting on the sidelines, with each other over
Made me feel
boneheaded.
warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Right. But it's like it just reinforced to me that okay, we really just kind of beat ourselves,
Yeah.
in that game last week. So hopefully that bodes well as we come into this week
Well, and yeah, we
against
come into
Dallas.
this week. We come into this week against Dallas, and Dak is seemingly like wanting to, he's in the mood to give gifts to the defense. So hopefully he continues that, that particular bit of business going into this weekend.
I do like this from Chris. Yeah, Kirk Mobile and Kirk Wheels, as Nick is saying in chat.
Yep.
And then Chris follows it up with the refs didn't give him a first down after that run. That should have been reported as elderly abuse.
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree, Chris,
Man,
completely.
I could not believe like when he got going. I was like, well, maybe he'll get us like halfway there or something like that. And then he just kept going. I was like, oh, and then
Yeah,
he
and he
just
kind
got
of like
tripped up.
not juked the guy, but definitely like made him look a little silly in the open field.
Have you seen the video that I think the Atlanta Falcons put it out, and it was set to some classical music. I can't remember what it was, but it basically was that entire play from like the hike to him dropping back and doing the run till he is falls to the ground after getting tripped up, and the whole video is like 3 minutes and 45 seconds long because the entire thing is in slow mo. The entire thing, and it's
uh,
awesome.
no,
It was
I have
awesome.
to go look that up. I have not seen that. Dre, I think that is correct. He said someone said on another podcast show that we only have 4 draft picks for next year, though. So if that's the freaking case, we don't need to freaking trade uh, for no one. For no one, maybe player for player though. Yes, I do think that that we only have 4 picks going into
Yeah,
next season. So we'll definitely see
I think
how
we got like first, second, fourth, and like a sixth or a seventh or something like that.
right. So we'll see what they do as far as trying to add some more or wheel and deal. Maybe they go full F them picks and are going to lean on free agency or whatnot to fix some stuff. Um, Willie asked, it says, Troy McElhaney asked Morris about Ellis becoming a pass rusher. Do you think they do that this week? If Troy comes back and they feel good about it and they don't think he's going to be super limited, I could see them rushing Ellis more.
Yeah.
But without Troy on the field, I don't think they're as confident putting Landman in coverage uh, to then rush Ellis.
Well, yeah, especially right now because at least for now, Landman just doesn't look. He just doesn't look healthy. He just doesn't look his normal self. Because even though he was not the best guy to have in coverage, he wasn't
I mean, he wasn't a
absolutely
total
horrible.
liability.
Yeah,
He wasn't whoever the Bucks had in as their linebacker the first week or the first time we played
yeah.
because they got
Ooh,
Levante David back for this game because that guy was a total liability, and they made sure to put that on display.
yep.
Let's see.
As Bradley Burnett says here, Kirktober stays strong, stays pretty strong. 3-1 in October and 4-0 in the division. 800 yards against the Bucks. Love to see it.
Right. My big concern is I need somebody to look up what Kirk Vimber looks like. Is it like a
Yeah,
everybody makes a big deal about Kirktober. I want to make sure that that Kirk Vimber isn't falling off a cliff. Um, can you guys explain the playoff format? I'm confused. Okay. So with us basically winning the division, does that guarantee we're in the playoffs? If we don't lose the rest of our games. Okay, my wife kind of asked me the same question. As long as first and foremost, and Jonathan, you correct me if I'm wrong.
okay.
In chat, same thing. As far as I remember, as far as I know, my knowledge base says, as long as we end up with a better record than the rest of the NFC South, that's the number one thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
number one box to check. If you end up with a better overall record and you have a winning record in your division, you win your division, you get a home playoff game. You get one home playoff game. Depending on seeding at that point, it's either in wild card round or divisional round.
Yes.
There's no scenario that we could have the best record in the NFC, but say Tampa gets hot, we kind of drop off, and they end up with a better overall record. They would then win the NFC.
Well, yeah,
Even
they would win the
even with
NFC
us
South.
beating them, that's what I meant, like the South, the NFC
Yeah.
South. Even
So
with us beating them twice,
yeah.
if they end up with a better overall record, that's your number one indicator.
Right. So when you hear people talking about the what's your record in the division? In our case, we're 4-0 in the division. The only time that comes into play is if there's a overall record tie. So like if us and the Bucks in the season, last game of the season, we both win, lose, whatever, and because of that, we end up coming out with the same exact record. In that scenario, we would have the first tiebreaker is always going to be head to head. How did you
Right.
go? How did you do head to head against them? Well, we swept them, so that doesn't we would win right there. We don't have to go any deeper. If we
Exactly.
don't win the head to head, but maybe we beat every other we swept all the other two teams and just lost once to the Bucks, then in that scenario, assuming the Bucks didn't lose to anybody else in the division, we'd be tied or whatever. So the division is just a tiebreaker thing. Um, but yeah, like the division record means nothing if you don't have a better overall record than
Yeah,
whoever you're
your
with.
number one want, your number one like chase after to win your division is the better overall record. This is why in the NFL, unlike college, you want your division to lose every game. Like every game. Like
Yes.
like even when they play each other, somehow you want both of them to lose. Like one of the first things when I first got into football that just boggled my mind was, especially down here in the South. Oh, as long as the SEC is winning, that's good, because like you want your conference to be
Well, because that
strong.
will be a strength of schedule, quality
Right,
wins, all
right.
that jazz.
Yeah, you want your conference to be strong so that when you play them and you win, uh, then it looks better for you. Uh,
Yes.
but here like in the NFL, you want your division to absolutely tank. Like you want them to
Yes.
be bad, because that makes it that's the reason why for almost 2 decades the Patriots were almost guaranteed a playoff spot, because the rest of their division was garbage. And so with the rest of their division being garbage and them being a good team, like they were a shoe in for the playoffs almost every year.
Yep.
And so that's what you want, right? First and foremost, uh, you want your division to lose everything.
Yep.
Um, let's see.
So basically, and Nick here asked, like, so if we tie the Bucks, we still make it. Like right now, there's no scenario that would be that could come up where us and the Bucks in the season with the same schedule and them
The
making it into
same
the playoffs and us
same
not.
record. Yeah, the same record. Like
Yes,
if we
the
both
same overall record.
yeah, if we both end up um 11-6.
Yes.
Like if we both end up 11-6, we win the NFC South because we beat them twice.
Yep.
There's no way that we could have the same record and us miss the playoffs. So at bare minimum, like what you're hoping for is the Bucks to lose a few more games. They lose a few more games, that really helps you out as far as your record goes. Um, so thank you, David, for doing the research that I didn't feel like doing. Um, he says Kirk in November has a passer rating of 106, 64 touchdowns, 15 interceptions in 31 games. His record is 19-12. Okay, so we can safely say, for the most part, may not be as dominant as Kirktober, but it does not fall off a cliff. In
64 to
November.
15, like that screams to me like his defense sucked a bunch of years. So
And maybe, I mean, he, the early years in Minnesota with Zimmer, like wasn't
yeah.
necessarily.
Or
Uh,
he was in Washington for a few
yeah, he
years.
was in Washington for a while. I say, okay, JR says I like the hat beside the all white ATL hat. So let's see. Let me see if I can figure out which one. You talking about this one? Like the splatter paint one? Is that the one you're talking about? Because I like that one too. I like my splatter paint hat. I was trying to get it. Have you seen the helmet hats? Have you
No.
seen those on New Era? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to replicate like the helmet, right?
Yeah.
So the black one has the Falcons logo kind of back here on both sides. And
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that looks okay. But for a short period of time, and I'm keeping my eye out to see if they get it back in stock, they had the red helmet with the
Ooh,
old Falcons logo and the stripe going right down the middle. I was like,
nice.
dude, I had that thing on order and I'm sitting there waiting for like 2 weeks to see like, oh, your order finally shipped, to a point where I had to like contact New Era and was like, what's the deal?
What's going
Where?
on?
Yeah, because it's like 7 to 10 business days. Like it's supposed to ship within and I'm at, day 14.
Yeah.
And then I finally get an email that says, "Oh, something has went wrong, and we have refunded you your money." I'm like, "Dang it, no!" Because I want that
They
hat.
had no more. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
right. That's been the issue. Hopefully they'll be big enough demand that they'll remake some. All right, as we start to wind the show down, or the last 15, 20 minutes or so, let's turn our attention to the upcoming opponent, which is the Dallas Cowgirls, coming
Mhm.
into Mercedes-Benz Stadium. America's punching bag? Not necessarily. I mean, America's team of old, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's America's team that everybody likes to make fun of nowadays. Oh, hold on. He says the black one up top with the red on the edge of the hat. Oh, talking about this one? Because that's the black with the edge, red on the edge. Maybe that one.
Yeah. It looks like it's got a helmet on it on the bill.
So, so that's that one, and then it has like the helmet, and then Falcons. Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe that was. Oh yeah, because he said it was next to the ATL. The
Yep.
two ATL hats. There. Okay. Anyway, um, what do you make of it? He says, "Hey, Jared says, thank you so much, Chris, for doing the research." Like, hey, look, man, you gotta be truthful, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think about things and I think about it in the moment, and it's like, dang it, why couldn't I have thought about that
For
before the show started?
like an
Because that would
hour,
have
like
been
2 hours ago.
right, because that would have been a fun little tidbit to have. But I appreciate the folks out there doing the work for me.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is the last game. Obviously, the Cowgirls are 3-4.
Yep.
Been floundering a bit as far, and they lost to San Francisco, who also has been kind of floundering. They're beat up pretty bad offensively. But here's the real. This is where I think we could really do some damage. Like, because this ain't been a one game thing for the Cowboys. They,
No.
like us, have not been able to stop the run.
Yeah.
And I really think that the Falcons could lean in on that with Bijan and Tyler, and I feel like both those guys could have some real good production.
Yeah. I mean, we said the same thing going into Seattle, and it really didn't work out that way.
Right.
So, like at the end of the day, it's just we didn't go in and execute. I'm not really all that worried about the offense. I'm more worried about the defense because I mean, say what you want about Dak, and Dak will absolutely throw you some balls if you're willing to make him pay. It's up to you to make him pay on those times where he's willing to throw it to you. He absolutely will do that. So if you take advantage of those opportunities, I think we're going to have a good game. But their offense, I mean, they got players, right? They got CD
I mean, they
Lamb,
got CeeDee Lamb.
they got good tight ends
Right.
that have been like a just bane for us.
And now the
So
run game, thankfully enough, like has not been anything. Um, like you could see, they had 56 rushing yards.
that's because they don't get to play their own defense, but now they get to play kind of a similar version of their defense. So we'll see how that plays out.
Right. Well, hopefully, last week against the Bucks, we only gave up 102 yards. That's probably one of the lower totals that we've had all season. So hopefully that's a trend that can continue. Um, Dre says we don't have to worry about. Is Parsons out for next week as well? Is he on IR?
I don't know.
Uh, and Demarcus, I knew Demarcus Lawrence was out, so we should be able to run the ball. Let's see. I need somebody to research. Oh, well, I can. I guess I can just look it up. How about that? Let's see.
Even if, let's say Micah Parsons does come back, I'm still not really all that worried about it. But I mean, it is what it is. But if he is there,
Let's see.
um,
Cowboy star. Nope. No. Let's see. That was 2 days ago. Ankle injury on whether he'll play against the 49ers. Dallas injuries. Let's see what this says here. We're gonna do some live on air.
opposition research.
That's right. This is the hard hitting stuff that y'all come to pound for pound for.
High ankle sprain.
New York
week
back at
4.
week 4. Not to put him on IR. He's without rehab. He was out with the rehab group in the practice field in the week leading up to the Cowboys matchup against, and did not practice, focusing on core work on this week. Both Jerry and I says it's too early to tell and determine whether or not Parsons has a chance to play. So as of right now, we don't know for sure. We'll start getting that information
Probably the next day or two.
Yeah, in the next day. And yes, CHJ says everyone knows you just run right at Parsons. Yeah, I mean, but still, we don't need him nor want him teeing off on the play action stuff.
No.
And Parsons can be a game record. So,
yes.
The least amount of game wrecking we have, the better, as far as we're concerned.
I mean,
Offensively,
I agree with that.
Yeah, offensively, they haven't Dallas has been just out of sorts all year on their offensive side. So, hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I said, it's one of those teams that they have the talent, and for some reason they're not able. I say some reason. San Francisco is a good defense, and they've played some good defenses. So at the end of the day, it's understandable. But with the kind of talent they've got, you would expect them to put a better fight in most cases, and it just hasn't been there this year. But the talent is still there. So who knows, when or if hell, you see that the Cowboys scored 33 on the Browns back in September. 33 points on that defense. That's a really good defense.
And outside of that was like their best performance.
Excuse me.
Offensively, 33-25. I'm just kind of glancing. I haven't done like super deep dives other than the few times that I've caught their games this year. So Dallas does this seems like again, it's kind of like Seattle. They're coming off of a loss, a team that has been, not consistent, up and down. You could easily, as the Falcons, you could easily overlook them and think that, okay, we're just going to be able to run all over them, and we should be able to get out of here with a win. Yes, you should be able to get out of there with a win, but there's you can't overlook anybody in the NFL. I mean, the Browns with Jameis Winston just beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
So, and then the Patriots with Drake May / Jacoby Brissett, just beat the Jets. Mm-hmm. So, and the Patriots looked like they were easily heading towards the number 1 overall pick. It was going to be a race between them and the Panthers again. So it's any given Sunday. So I really hope that this team looks at this as an opportunity to, extend their lead, get another win in the NFC, help their overall case to, push towards the playoffs. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be viewed. and I really hope that it's how they view it, because these are those trap games that everybody talks about. CJ says, thanks for the great Falcon content. For just liked and subscribed. Keep it up, guys. Thank you. We
Appreciate it very much, guys.
Appreciate that greatly. And as always, we appreciate all the familiar faces and non-familiar faces. Alberto says, can we bring back Adrian Claiborne to sack Prescott 6 times? That is
Well,
an idea.
So how about this? Instead of bringing back Adrian Claiborne, 'cause I think he might actually be retired, but let's say that let's instead of that, let's have the ghost of Adrian Claiborne inherit, I don't know, either Judon or Ebiketie. I don't care which
I don't
one.
care which one. I don't even care.
But I would love to see Ebiketie come out of here with like 6 sacks. That'd be awesome.
Dude, like let's get it like revved up, you know. King says, if we lose to the Cowboys, does that scare you guys about our playoff chances? Because our schedule doesn't get any easier. I don't think it scares me per se. I'm going to worry about our playoff chances until we actually get to the playoffs. You know,
Yeah.
That's just to be honest. You know, it's been too long for the Falcons to even reach the playoffs. So until we get there, like there's always cause for concern. But after, let's see. So after the Cowboys, you get the Saints. You should feel pretty good about the Saints, but then you get the Broncos, who are looking much better, especially that defense.
Yep.
So, and that's Falcons at Broncos. You're going to play that one. Then you get the Chargers, who've been a mixed bag.
Their offense has been kind of defense, though, is still pretty good.
Right. So that's a toss-up. The Vikings might be coming back to earth with their offense, maybe. But that doesn't look nearly as easy as it did at the beginning. Raiders should be a win. Giants should be a win.
Should be. Though that defense is, I know they gave up some points, but like their defensive line scares the crap out of me.
Oh yeah, their defensive line is tough. Their defensive line is very tough.
Yes.
But that's at home, so maybe that'll help. But then you got the Commanders, who are got to be the shock of the season.
Yes.
First year under Dan Quinn, first year like probably runaway rookie of the year at this point with Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah.
And like dude just looks, that Hail Mary at the end of the Chicago game, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Right.
Like I saw that, like I was watching that game, and it just reminded me, like when at the end of our game, when that Hail Mary goes up from Baker, like as soon as that ball left his hands, I literally just turned away. It's like just kind of peeked back. and was like, oh god, oh okay.
I could easily see, just like ripping off the top of my head, I could see us finishing 11-6.
Yeah.
Like from what I know, like we're halfway through the season. I don't see, like, generally speaking, teams don't just flip from what they have been to this point. So let's say we win against Dallas, win against the Saints. That would make us 7-3. Let's say we go on the road and lose to the Broncos, because I just think they have a really good defense. And it's Sean Payton, and it would just annoy me to lose to Sean Payton. Let's say we lose there. So that's 7-4. Let's say we beat the Chargers, 8-4. Lose to the Vikings. This is Kirk Cousins going back to Minnesota. The revenge emotions are too high, and Brian Flores has a funky defense that's just hard to play against. So 8 and so that would be what I say. So 7-3 or 6-3. 7-3, 7-4, eight and 4,
8-4.
8-5. So 8-5. Then I think you rip off Raiders and Giants. So 10-5.
Yeah.
Lose to Dan Quinn and the Commanders. 10-6. Beat the Panthers. 11-6.
Yeah. Well, good thing Panthers just got rid of Deontay
Johnson.
Johnson.
Right. Yeah, they're selling the season. Like they already know. So hold on. What we got going on here? Let's see. Okay. DSRT says Tampa Bay without 3 elite players was a big advantage, but Baker still threw for like 330 with backups. Okay. Got it. Next thing says
The sea
sea
chickens came.
and
Yeah.
took over. I was trying to I was trying to read and see what where he was. Yes, I mean, again, right now the defense is what it is. I
Mhm.
think that you will get a market improvement or a little bit of an uptick when Troy Anderson comes back, especially if he comes back and is playing well. I think you get a little bit of a uptick there. But right now, it's an opportunistic defense. As long as we can keep getting turnovers and we make those second half adjustments that we've been able to make, which was Raheem Morris's calling card out in LA, then yeah, I think we are what we are at this point.
Yeah. I just got to keep getting those turnovers,
That's it.
and making making timely plays. Like at the end of the day, that's because what we always talk about. Like most games in the NFL come down at the end of the day. When you look back at the game, it came down to probably a handful of plays. And if you can be the team that makes those or at least most of those handful of plays, then your chances of winning are good. Okay, you don't have to be a dominant team. You don't have to be a dominant defense or dominant offense or anything of that nature. You just need to make the plays that you need to make to win the game. And that's what and and we got to looking at this I was on Twitter over the weekend on Sunday, just after the Falcons game and everything. And somebody made a complaint about I think it was Texas and how they beat a ranked SEC opponent and they somehow fell in the AP poll. Somebody said, strength, it's not a quality win. They should have won by like 2
Right.
touchdowns. This, not the other. And I love college football. I love nothing more than to just sit, on my butt,
Just
watching,
watch football.
from noon till however late I can get away with it, and just have nothing but college football, switching between games and all this other stuff. I love college football, but for 20 plus years, I have absolutely hated how college football does like national championship.
Oh
I have
yeah. No.
I've
Yep.
absolutely hated like the popularity contest. The like everybody
It's
talks
like
about
the
like
old boys club and all
yeah,
that. Like if you ain't a no, that's the reason why I've never been able to like I don't have a team per se.
yeah,
Like I want the Georgia teams to do well, just because we live in the state of Georgia. But I don't have a team. I don't have a fandom in college because of the structure. Now we're getting closer with the 12 team playoff and all that jazz. But um it's still but the problem is the more I think about it, like the problem is that there's so many teams. Like the NFL can do what it does because there's only 32 teams. So
yeah,
the chances of like so many teams going completely undefeated is almost non-existent
yeah,
because you have to beat up on each other. And so what I'm eventually hoping happens in college, and this is like my own little college rant, is that it looks like they're moving towards a SEC Big Ten, and like that's it. So at that point, let's just have 2 conferences, and it would then be more structured like the NFL. And then maybe I could fully get into to college. I mean, but I like watching college because you get to see some really fun and innovative stuff.
Well, you get to
from
see
especially
you
from
get,
the smaller schools.
yeah, and you get to see things that you like when you, by and large, I'm not gonna say it never it never happens, but you get to an NFL game and you get to the middle of the fourth quarter. Okay, by and large, you get to the middle of the fourth quarter. If you're up by 3 scores, that game's over. Generally, okay.
Generally
Now
speaking, yep.
that's not to say the other team can't have it, maybe get a couple of scores or whatever late and make it look a lot closer than it actually was. But the reality is, if you're down 21 points or 3 scores with 7 minutes or less to go in the game, chances of you winning that game are really tiny. Can it happen? Sure, but it's really, really tiny.
Mhm.
In college, it's a little bit lessened these days with the way they do the timing now in college football. But I think it's sped up their game, and I think they're fine with that. But like used to be, like every first down, stop the clock. You go out of bounds, didn't matter what you stop the
Oh yeah,
clock, all this other stuff.
yeah. You're stopping the clock
And
for everything.
yeah, but when you get into the college game, you're still dealing with, in some cases, like 18-year-old, 19-year-old
Oh
kids.
yeah,
So even though they may have dominated the whole day or whatever, they get it in their head like, oh, this team's done. We've won this game or whatever. And then you could have absolutely bonkers comebacks in college football that just you don't really see all the time in the NFL. Whereas college, you see those routinely
oh
week
yeah.
in and week out because you just got a
What I
bunch of
do,
kids that just don't have that pro mentality yet.
what I do love about college is that you do get to see you get to see upsets and you get to see wacky, um, wacky plays or not just plays, but wacky outcomes and that much I like. But
And nowadays with NIL,
oh
the
dude,
what we're seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg.
oh yeah,
But like this year has been one of the craziest college football years because now after a few years of doing, and you just gonna see this happen more and more, is used to be that the guys that were going to Alabama, like there was like a guy that Alabama said, hey, we want you, you went to Alabama,
oh yeah, for
right?
sure, yeah, and that's
Uh, but that's changing now, and they're going to these smaller schools because they can go to Alabama, they can make some money, but they can make more money going over here because instead of being like the number, yeah, you're a 4-star, 5-star guy, but they've got a bajillion of those guys, and they got to pay all of them.
yep.
So you may come in at like number 10 or 12 or 13 or whatever on the list of guys and how much you get paid. You go over to San Jose State or whatever. Not only can you probably start much quicker and play more games earlier, you are now like one of their top guys who's getting a bigger chunk of that NIL money. So you're seeing a lot of that talent get dispersed out into a bunch of teams that would never have had shots at some of these guys before, and that's causing all kinds of waves with like crazy upsets with teams
Oh
that
yeah.
you would never have thought it would have happened with.
So in that aspect, I'm definitely I enjoy that. So I
Yeah.
was right. DSRT is a Bucks fan. I thought that's what I was like the
Okay.
vibe I was, which is great. He said the loss to Atlanta didn't bother me like the loss to the Ravens, because we could have got out of there with our elite receivers, but I bet the outcome would have been different. I'll say this: like the fact that at the end of the day, I did roll my eyes. You didn't like y'all didn't have your elite receivers, and with a minute left, you had a chance to win the game. And I'm not saying that as in like disparagingly on you. That's more of a like uh indication of our defense. Like, it to me, without your top two targets, like it shouldn't have been that close. Like
Yeah.
in a lot of aspects. And I'm like I said, again, not trying to talk crap. Like I other than the fact that it is in the NFC South, I have enjoyed Baker's resurgence. Um, because that's something that you just don't see happen in the NFL.
Yep.
Like generally speaking, guys don't get, especially QBs, don't get a second chance or third chance to resurrect their careers.
Yep.
And you're seeing that more and more, and I have enjoyed that. I've enjoyed like a guy like Baker is fun. I just wish he was somewhere else other than Tampa. Kind of like calling back to what I was talking about earlier. Like, you're in the division with us. I want you to lose every game.
Yep.
Like, I want all the rest of the division to lose every game. Even when you play each other, I want you to lose.
Yep.
And I would expect that y'all, that same energy focused at us. You know, um, like I bet you it, burned everybody's hide in the rest of the NFC South that we went out and signed Kirk Cousins, and that the Steelers game was the outlier.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like when that game, when at the end of that game, I mean, you can't help but think like, oh man, did we make a huge mistake? It took a lot for me to just like, all right, calm down. It's 1 week. A guy that's coming off injury, new offense, new coaches, new players, new everything. Be patient. Let's see how this plays out. It took everything I had not to fly off the handle
Oh yeah,
after week one. So yeah, if you're a Bucks fan, a Saints fan, whatever, you see that first week, you're like, oh man, the Falcons just stunk it
especially
up. Oh, it's
especially the
so
Saints ripped off two like extremely impressive wins right out the gate.
well. They seemed impressive to begin with.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. CJ asks, "Are there any Saints fans left? They're mighty quiet." I do know that there was a picture circulating with the all familiar paper bags on some Saints fans' heads.
I saw that.
So,
I was trolling around. I didn't post or anything like that, but I was lurking around their like main board, and yeah, somebody was like, "Man, I saw some people wear some bags over their heads." And it's like, shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, I'm loving it.
oh
I'm
yeah, dude. Hey,
loving it.
I'm eating it up. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I still have to remind myself that we are 8 games into a fully new regime,
Yes.
and you're not going to be able to fix everything in one shot. Uh, if they're able to continue making adjustments in the second half of games to not let it get out of hand, then the offense continues making some strides, then I feel like we're in a pretty good position to win the NFC South and have a playoff game.
Yep.
Now,
And that's the goal this year.
I
Like,
think
I
so.
mean,
Like,
it,
honestly, yeah, I can't see how anybody can realistically think it's much more than like end up with a winning record, win the NFC South, host a playoff game, and dude, that's like, check, check, check. And like if you get two of those three, kind of deal, well, if you get a winning record and win the South, you're gonna host a playoff game.
yeah.
But so if you get the two, you're guaranteed the third. And I don't think that there's that is a successful spending of the money as far as Kirk Cousins goes. The overall thought process of drafting Michael Penix gets even quieter because you notice ain't nobody talking about that right now. That stuff gets even quieter, and you can go into the offseason hoping to bolster your defense with getting Braylon Trice back. Rook makes us, continues to develop. Dorless hopefully, gets in the games before the end of the season. And maybe you do add an Azeez Ojulari or something like that, and you move off of Ebiketie.
I
So
mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe they come out with a different pass rush scheme this week.
I don't know, dude. They got
You
to come up with something because
yeah,
they're what they're doing right now definitely is not working.
no,
Even to
no,
a point where, Raheem wasn't even trying to deflect. He just flat out said it wasn't good enough.
yep.
So at least there's that.
Like,
Uh,
and like here's what I'll say. I'm gonna give Jimmy Lake. This is his season, right? Like, if
right.
I I don't think you're gonna see him get fired. I don't think you're gonna see him have his play calling abilities taken away because the defense has made plays. The defense has bucked up when it's needed to. The defense has done some good things. They just haven't done enough good things for most of us, which is understandable. but they have done enough for us to be where we're at in the season right now. So
Yeah.
he's not. I don't think that anything like that's going to happen. Could that change? Obviously, it could, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, I just want to, if we can continue to work on getting that pass rush going and doing whatever needs to be done, that's cool. But as long as we end up making enough plays to get us wins in games, don't really care at the end of the day. Would I like to have that, dominant, nice pass rush?
Oh yeah, of course.
Sure, absolutely. But at the end of the day, all I really care about is a win. You give me a W at the end of, on a Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night or whatever it is. You give me that W, and I really honestly don't. I'll worry about the problems that we ran into getting that W. I'll worry about those later.
I'd much rather talk about the problems with a win than a loss. So,
Yep.
Well, happy early birthday, Nick.
Oh, happy birthday, Nick.
And hopefully the Falcons will deliver for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks. I think that's going to pretty much do it for us tonight. We were able to knock this thing out, and I think put a pretty good bow on it.
Yep.
As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan.
At Jonathan M. Holder, come by and say hi.
There you go. Hopefully we will be talking about a win on Tuesday. That's what we're always gunning for.
Yep.
But we'll be back live next Tuesday, same pound for pound channel, same pound for pound time. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
I wonder why it removes us from the stage with the outro. I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't too bad.
No.
Right.
I thought it was 50 something, 56.